програми што може да ја вознемират малолетната публика.
Драги мои пријатели и пријателки, добро вечер. Добре дојавте во уште едно издание Јади Бурек на Сител 3 телевизија. Вечерва ќе се јавиме во Соединетите Американски држави, поточно во Аризона, the great states of the Great Canyon, и ќе разговараме со господинот Џејсон Мико, политички аналитичар, долгогодишен пријател на Република Македонија и човек кој долго време ги следи и анализира состојбите во Република Македонија. Подолго време е во Соединетите држави, ние пред известно време разговаравме со него во врска со настаните пред изборието, пред да почне и големата кампања за избор на председател на Соединетите држави, каде што он предвиде неколку работи кои еве се исполнија точно. Прво, дека Хилари Клинтон е несоодветен и дека народот нема да ја сака и дека е криминалец, и дека Трамп дека ќе победи. Нешто на што планетава ретко кој веруваше. Го имаме во живо на линија господинот Џејсон Мико. Џејсон, hello, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Janko. Dobro večer, Makedonija. Dobro večer, Janko. Kako si?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good to be with you.
Congratulations. Your prediction came true. Donald Trump is a president. Republicans are dominating in the Congress, in the Senate, and you were right when you told me the last time we were speaking that Hillary Clinton is a bad choice and she have some criminal issue with that it will not going unnoticeably in the institution and among the people.
Yeah, absolutely. She has been accused of certain things. We don't know if she's actually guilty. That remains to be seen.
Yes, of course. But that leave a trail among the people who were supposed to vote for her. No. Let me ask you this. You live in Arizona, as I remember, yes? You call me from
the great state, the Grand Canyon state of Arizona.
Yes, the Grand Canyon. So, what's the feeling over there in Arizona where you live? I see that Latinos also voted for Trump, and maybe not as many as for Clinton, but still they voted for him. So, how is this possible? Why?
Great question. You know, Arizona is a Republican state. There are more Republicans here than Democrats, although the number of independents is growing. But regardless of independent, Democrat, Republican, we're a conservative state. The people here are very conservative. They're traditional. We have our radicals, of course, like every state. But it was funny to me that the media put Arizona as a toss-up state. They said they didn't know which way Arizona would go, largely because of the Latinos, the Hispanics that are here. But, of course, Arizona voted for Trump, and I knew it would. So I think obviously a lot of people here are happy. Interesting fact, the media and the Democrat Party and the think tanks and the elites like to say that, you know, Hispanics are Democrats. Well, that's not right, and that's unfair. I have a brother-in-law who is Mexican. He was born in Mexico, but he lives here and married to one of my sisters. He's very much a conservative. The left-leaning national NPR, which is the national press radio, says that up to perhaps three out of 10 Hispanics are conservative in America.
Because they have family values, they're going to church, they're... Okay, yes, I understand.
Absolutely, yes, because they share the values of the Republican Party. They share the values of conservatives because they are conservative, as you said, very family-oriented, very much Catholic, and with a deep faith. And there's no reason why they should be voting for a party, the Democrat Party, that rejects all of that. So their natural home, the natural home of Hispanics in America, is the Republican Party.
So let me ask you something else. When I analyzed, tried to analyze how is this possible. I found some data and some statements from the Latinos, Mexicans that they have problem with illegal immigrants. They came here, they are legal immigrants. Everybody in United States came from somewhere, England, Ireland, Germany, France, Spain, etc., etc. So even the Latinos and Mexicans who passed the process of the immigration, and they legally earned the green card, and to be a citizen of United States, they pay taxes, they are loyal citizens of United States, and suddenly, open border politics came a lot of illegal immigrants who stole their business, who stole they're not working, they're not paying taxes, they receive social benefits, and a lot of Latinos and Mexicans and normal people who working and giving contribution to the state, asking themselves, what the hell I'm doing? I'm working for somebody who is not working, who is illegal, who is criminal, etc., etc. So, is this how valuable is this statement of the situation there?
You know, you bring up a very good point, and there are many, many Hispanics and Mexicans who are legally here in the United States who do not want to see illegal immigration, do not want people coming over the border and, as you point out, taking their jobs and engaging in all kinds of things, whether it's legal or illegal. And so that's an important point. Another important point, I think, is that look at Mexico's southern border with the states of Central America. And look at their policies. They very much enforce their border control policies in trying to keep out Central Americans and others from coming into Mexico in the first place, for the very same reasons that we do it. Every country has a right to enforce its borders and to determine who comes in and who does not come in. That's a perfectly normal function for a nation state, as Macedonia and states in Europe have seen over the past year.
About building the wall. You live near the border, and do you expect to build the wall? This is a trick question. I will explain to the public. To build a wall close to your house, do you expect something like this to happen?
Good question. I live, just to put it in perspective, America is a big country. I live 120 kilometers from the border with Mexico.
Okay. I will try to illustrate while you're talking.
Okay. 120 kilometers is where I live from the border with Mexico. It's unfortunate that in our national dialogue, we keep talking, and Donald Trump is at fault here. He keeps talking about building a wall, and that's not the right the way to describe it.
Okay. While you're talking, I was opened the Google and write USA Mexico wall, and I see kilometers and kilometers, and our public can see that there is already a great wall built between USA and United States and Mexico. So when was this built? How is this possible? Now they're talking that Trump will build a wall. When I saw the wall with my eyes, is there.
Actually, the border is 3,145 kilometers long.
Yes.
Of that, 930 kilometers has some type of a barrier in place, not in one continuous stretch, but in various spots where there's a lot of activity. So 120 kilometers from my house in Nogales, Arizona, you will find a wall. And I don't know if you have a picture of it, but it's a very large, secure metal fence, basically. It is from 18 to 30 feet high, which is about 5 to 9.5 meters high. It's impenetrable. You can't get through it. You can't get under it. You can get over it with a large ladder, but it's still going to stop most people. So we have 930 kilometers of barriers in place along that whole border now in various places.
So
we're not building a wall.
So when was this built?
Over the past decade.
Oh, really? So
In
how
bits
it's
and pieces.
possible now that Trump is anti-immigrant, anti-people, anti-everything? He will build the wall. He will isolate United States. Do the people know that there is a fence? This is not a picket fence. This is a very high fence, 5 meter high, which is very, very difficult and very heavy, controlled by the both sides.
Most people in America don't realize this, and certainly most people around the world don't realize that you already have 930 kilometers of a and I prefer to use the word barrier as opposed to a wall, because it consists in different places of different types of barriers, whether it's a very large 5 to 9 meter high fence, or electronic fences, other surveillance and cameras and things like that. But it's been proven that wherever this goes up, the number of illegal immigrants goes down. Walls work, fences work, barriers work.
Do you feel safe in your country, in your town, in your home? How about your neighbors?
Yeah, absolutely. No. And most of the illegal immigrants who have a criminal background aren't necessarily coming to Tucson, Arizona. They're going to Phoenix, to New York, to Chicago, New Jersey. They're going all over the place.
Yes. How is the process tell me this, how is the process of when illegal immigrants came in the United States and don't pass the immigration process, they don't become legal citizens of United States? How the liberals help them to receive some funding, to vote for them, to make them legal in some way, to have use from them for their political activities? Because liberals also say we will let them in and they will vote for us for many years to come.
Yeah, very good point. There's a couple of issues there. Number one, we have a lot of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, or CSOs as they call them now, that provide assistance to illegals. We have a number of cities in America, San Francisco, Chicago, and others, that call themselves, quote unquote, sanctuary cities, meaning local law enforcement, the police and others, do not report to the federal government when they apprehend illegal immigrants.
So no deportation?
Sorry?
No deportation?
No. It's open defiance of federal law is what it is.
Wow.
So this is a major issue, and of course under President Trump, that's going to change, I think. Now, just to address one issue, because as conservatives, we are family-oriented and we're compassionate people. And we believe in the basic unit of society, the basic unit of a nation-state is the family. So we're not going to be running around, breaking into homes, ripping families apart and sending children home or women home or the fathers home or anything like that. I don't know exactly what form this is going to take, but it's not going to be that. Well, first, President Trump will start with the illegals. He's going to deport them, and then we'll see what his next steps are. While at the same time plugging the holes in that 3,145 kilometer border that need to be plugged.
How big issue is the illegal immigrants in the United States and in the politics? This is one of the segments, but how big this segment is in the mind of the people, everybody?
It's a big issue. People first and foremost always vote their pocketbooks. They vote on economic issues. And the issue of illegal immigration does affect that in various ways. I mean, let's be honest. Big business in America, which includes a number of elite Republicans, would like to see illegals come in here because they take low-paying jobs, which is good for the bottom line, and that's not right. And so, again, this is an issue that cuts across party lines. You have Republicans that support illegal immigration, and you have Democrats that don't support illegal immigration. So, in terms of what percentage it played in this election, I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
Okay, so let's go back to the elections. How do you what do you say about campaign? How it was? It was pretty pretty close until the end. So, give me your perspective. How did you live those days, couple of days in the last hours of the campaign and the election?
Great question. I remember I was sitting right here at my computer on Tuesday night, on November 8th, watching. I was flipping back between CNN and Fox News, for the various perspectives, because I wanted them both.
Me too.
And, the media and, everybody, all the people they had on each one were, they were saying, it's Hillary, it's Hillary, it's Hillary. And then about 7:30 p.m. my time, which would have been about, 2:30 or 3 your time in the morning, yes. I started seeing Florida, and then Ohio, and then Pennsylvania. And the the numbers coming in were such that they were not going to go back to Hillary. And that's when I knew then. But it's interesting because, they didn't call it, the media, didn't call it until probably 2 or 3 in the morning, I think. So it was absolutely fascinating to watch. And to know, Janko, that this year, 2016, so many people got it so wrong so many times. The media, the establishment, the elites, the think tanks, the academic institutions all got it wrong.
Why?
Why? That's a great question. Because they have entrenched interests in seeing Hillary win, in seeing a member of the elite establishment win. And so they basically created a bubble in which they all talked to themselves and then told that story to the American people, and then they believed it. They basically believed their own lies. So, and they forgot to talk to the average American. Hillary Clinton.
This is surreal. What are you telling me? United States is an example for the world. How to elect, how to practice democracy, how to analytics. You Americans, if some respect have in the world, is about analytics. You analyze everything until the perfect details. How is this possible? So many people, even in the Republican, they didn't believe that the Trump will win. How is possible the silent majority was off the grid, or not on horizon of any analytics? This is incredible.
That's a great point you bring up there, and I'll tell you a little story here.
Yes, please. I want to hear.
I'll tell you. The polls were all wrong except for a handful, and of course everybody's gonna look at those here over the coming years to see why most polls were wrong. But one thing that I saw in analysis was that, in Macedonia, somebody calls you and asks you for your opinion when they do a poll. It's human to human. And those polls turned out to be spectacularly wrong. Now, we also have polling here done by a machine. It's called RoboPoll. So it's a recorded menu of option items. It's not a live human that calls automatically households, and then people record their vote by pushing buttons on their phone.
Okay.
Those polls were spectacularly right, and here's why. It turns out people don't like being called racists and bigots and Neanderthals when they're not, and so they were reluctant to tell the human pollster that they were supporting Trump, but they were okay with telling the machine, the RoboPoll, that they were supporting Trump. So the lesson here for our friends on the left is that calling somebody a racist or a bigot or a Neanderthal is not the best way to get yourself elected. Even Michael Moore, the liberal filmmaker from Flint, said, we were calling these people racists and bigots. And you know what? They're not. These are people, a large number of these people voted 2 times for a man whose middle name is Hussein, and then they voted for Trump. So, but I find it fascinating because, Rules for Radical was written by Saul Alinsky in the 1960s, and he was a Democrat, a far-left radical, an atheist, and he was a quote-unquote, a community organizer. Hillary Clinton wrote her thesis paper on Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals in 1969 at Wellesley College in Massachusetts. And she called it, There is Only the Fight, an analysis of the Alinsky model. Now, rule number 13, there's 24 rules for radicals. Rule number 13, written by Saul Alinsky in the 60s, is pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. In other words, demonize your opponents, call them names.
Cut off the support network and isolate the target from the sympathy. Go after people and not institution. People hurt faster than institution. I read this on Wikipedia. It is fascinating book. So this is wrote in 1971, and this is the how can I say, Mein Kampf for the liberals.
It is, and do you know, Janko, that it's been translated into Macedonian?
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Paid for by, of course, everybody's favorite, George Soros, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, unfortunately. And so, we've seen this past year how the left in Macedonia have used rules for radicals in their attack on, frankly, on the people of Macedonia with their vandalism, their anger, their hate, all of these things. So they've learned very well from Rules for Radical. Unfortunately, my tax dollars went to pay for a translation of it into Macedonian. But I got to bring up this one more point about Rules for Radical. So Saul Alinsky dedicates the book to Irene, whoever Irene is, I don't know. But on an introductory page, he has 3 quotes. One is by Thomas Paine, an American revolutionary. Another one I forgot. But the third quote is a Alinsky quote. And he says this.
Slowly.
Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical. From all our legends, mythology, and history, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom. Lucifer, Satan, the first radical.
Yes.
And so this is Saul Alinsky, not dedicating the book to Lucifer, but acknowledging Lucifer as the first radical.
As a role model.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton goes on to write her 92-page thesis about Saul Alinsky and admired him. And, we're seeing Rules for Radical being played out on the streets in America now with all of these riots going on against President-elect Trump. That's a shame. And we see it going on in Macedonia too, or at least we have in the past. And that's not the way to have an informed debate. That's not the way to persuade your fellow man or woman that your side is right. You need to have an informed argument, not throw paint at buildings.
Do they think that they will scare the people? They will, with intimidation, with the threats, calling the names. When we were in power, you will see because of your beliefs, you will answer that. So I think that there is some fascistic approach to that question. Scary people, and they will vote for you, or maybe they will even not vote for the opponent to have a safe life. Is there something like analysis? What do you think about it? This is a question which they come into my mind listening to you on your analysis and about this book for radicals and the liberal approach to public, to politics, to the mass people.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And as we all know, it only takes a handful of people to cause a disruption in society, any society, whether it's the neighborhood, the city, the state, the country, whatever. And that's what they have tried to do. They've really tried to capture that. Of course, with the help of the mainstream media, academia, acting, both before Trump was elected and now after Trump is elected. Unfortunately, universities in America have become corporations. That's another issue. But the leftist dogma being spread on university campuses and the attempt to shut down free speech It's nothing like, I couldn't imagine. My oldest niece will go to college next year, and I'm afraid of what she's going to encounter. Hopefully her parents have been able to give her the right upbringing. I know they have given her the right upbringing so that she can stand against these onslaughts, this attack from the liberal left.
So there is for many years, there is a strong campaign that minority of the people, which is gay, transgender, which is okay, their choices, but to erase some values of the family, of the majority, not call mom and dad. There is no, in the schools, mom and dad in California, as I understand. Arnold Schwarzenegger put it there. That was his biggest treachery. Gay marriages, okay, everything, but in the school system, church, God, beliefs, family values, mom, dad, as a words, they're almost not exist. The teachers don't want to confront with the liberal asking. So if there is some gay issue, no problem, we will talk, everybody, hold hands. You want to dress like a woman, you're a boy, okay, no problem, dress like a girl. But if you try to speak about God, you will be crucified. I mean...
True. Yeah. No pun intended, of course. Well, that's a good point. And to just kind of take it back to basics. Everybody worships something.
Yes, of
Even
course.
our friends who are atheists worship mankind. And the atheists, and even those who might believe in God but are from the left, they believe in the perfectibility of mankind, and they believe that we can achieve utopia. And I'm sorry, let's face reality. Reality is it's always better to face reality than wish for jelly beans and rainbows and puppy dogs. It's a fallen world. We are all fallen individuals. In the words of Immanuel Kant, we are the crooked timber of humanity. And we all have issues. Obviously, Donald Trump is a terribly flawed man. But actually, that brings up a good point. I got to tell you another little story. So, a banker here in Tucson I was talking to many years ago, and he belonged to a church that invited Jim Caviezel, the actor, to come and speak at. Jim Caviezel played Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, and Caviezel has played other characters as well.
Fantastic actor,
Great.
fantastic role. Yes. He played
Absolutely.
Brilliant that role.
So somebody at the church asked Caviezel. They said to Caviezel, that Mel Gibson, he's a really horrible sinner, isn't he? And Caviezel looked at him and said, yes, Mel Gibson is a horrible sinner, just like me.
And like me, and like you,
like me,
and like everybody.
We all are. So the question is, I think, do we recognize that as individuals, and do we try and, do what is right? And then do we try and do we if we're doing wrong, do we try and, take that philosophy and push it on society, or do we recognize that's wrong and say, no, we're not going to? I'm not going to get into a theological discussion, but that's what our friends on the left try and do. And that's unfortunate, because, look.
Đeјson, we lost you. Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a second to stabilize the connection. Yes, last sentence we didn't hear you. Not.
Okay.
May I try to call you? Maybe some other server will transfer you. Call you in a second.
Okay.
May I call you in a second?
Okay, very good.
Yes, this is ovaj najdobar način da može bi ke ne prefarili na nekoj postabilen server. Vednaš ke se vratime, brzo odi ova. Okay, Đeјson?
That better?
Yes, I think so. So,
okay.
You want to make a religious point, the last?
Well, no, and not necessarily religious. I want to make a point about human nature, and that is, for all of humanity, children have needed a mother and a father. Now, that can't always be. There are plenty of fine single parents.
Damn it. Dobro. Okay. Имаме проблем дефинитивно. До сега одеше све окей. Имам уште неколку прашања до Џејсон Мико, но еве, нека биде ова поводот за првиот блок со реклами, па ќе се обидеме повторно да контактираме со Џејсон Мико во Аризона, Соединетите држави.
И оваа година заедно со вас. Гледајте ја петата сезона на семејниот магазин Моето дете. За сите сегашни и идни родители, едукативни прилози и стручни совети, одблиску запознатите нивните семејства, културни, спортски и забавни активности за правилен раст и развој на децата од сите возрасти. Премиерно секоја сабота во 20 часот на Сител 3.
Пак таа досадна уринарна инфекција. Урифар содржи природни состојки кои за 30 минути го ублажуваат воспалението. Урифар – брзо и ефикасно решение за уринарните инфекции. Хербал Плюс.
Healthy Food – специализирани продавници за здрава и органска храна. Голем асортиман на органска храна и широк спектар на додатоци во исхраната. Безглутенска и веганска храна, органски витамини, без генетски модифицирани организми, како и комплетна нега со сертифицирана француска органска козметика. Специализирани продавници на Зегин за органска и здрава храна.
Дружењата со пријателите ми станаа мачни. Болките во зглобовите станаа неподносливи. Не е лесно, но за проблемите со зглобовите има решение. Сопрете ја болката пред таа да ве сопре вас. Вистинско решение. Флексифорс Плюс. Правилен избор. Хербал Плюс. Телефон 3062 770.
Совршен спој на софистициран дизајн, врвен квалитет и професионални перформанси. Доживеете ја префинетоста во вашата кујна со садовите за готвење TVS од италијанскиот дизајнер Giorgetto Giugiaro, кој меѓу другото е познат по дизајнот на Ферари. Садовите TVS на вашата кујна ќе дадат современ изглед, а на секое јадење неверојатен вкус. Од 28 октомври до 4 декември, единствено во Тинекс, соберете 12 купони и со доплата од 999 денари добиете ја вашата нова тава за готвење. Со садовите TVS, готвењето на секој семеен оброк е како создавање нова, магична приказна.
Ново Крваксил, патентирана П73 формула, единствено масло од диво оригано во капсули, ефикасен за целото семејство, против инфекции, без инекции.
Да, ние го подготвуваме Будвајзер Будвар, користејќи го истиот оригинален рецепт веќе 120 години. А сепак, секој ден, секој процес, секое шише, секое правило го гледаме со нов ентузијазам. Може би старите традиции треба да се почитуваат на овој начин. Будвајзер Будвар, оригинално чешко.
Кандилекс придонесува за баланс на микроби во телото и добро варење, причини за настанување на кандида, често и подолго конзумирање на антибиотици, небалансирана исхрана, често изложување на стрес и слаб имунитет, конзумирање контрацептивни таблети. Симптоми на прекумерно развиена кандида, надуеност и проблеми со варење, зголемена потреба за сладка и кисела храна и алкохол, главоболка, замор, несоница. Кандилекс, природен препарат во борба против кандида. Вистинско решение, правилен избор. Хербал Плюс.
Зголемена простата. Проблеми со мокрење. Проблеми со потенција. Полтип, екстракт од полен, помага при отежнато мокрење, непотполно празнење, испрекинатост, чувство за итност, колебање, ја подобрува потенцијата. Хербал Плюс.
Ново Остеостронг, органски калциум и магнезиум со витамини К2 и Д3. Потикнува од крајбрежјата на Јужна Америка, од црвени алги кои се берат рачно, се сушат и се мелат во прав, кој е извор на единствен органски калциум. Остеостронг алгекал обезбедува правилна работа на внатрешните органи, бидејќи влијае на преку 100 витални функции во организмот. Најновите студии докажаа дека остеостронг алгекал ја јакне структурата и ја зголемува густината на коските. Остеостронг, потпора на вашата виталност. Хербал Плюс. Телефон 02 3062 770.
Фудбалерите на Вардар цврсто ја држат лидерската позиција на табелата во домашното првенство. Дуелот со Македонија Ѓорđe Петров е убава шанса за нови бодови на патот кон титулата. Лавовите нема што да загубат и може да се надигруваат со шампионот и да ги потврдат своите добри игри во последните неколку кола. Вардар Македонија Ѓорđe Петров директно на Сител тројка среда 13 часот. Нови бодови за црвено-црните или изненадување на сезоната. Гледајте ја скопската пресметка среда Сител тројка 13 часот.
Џејсон, Мико се уште е со нас, почитувани гледачи. Одиме во Аризона, во Тусон. Мико, hello.
Здраво.
Здраво. Let me make you one point. Liberals, atheists, anarchists, something like that, LGBT and something. But there is some place that their ideology in the fight was this book for anarchists.
Rules for radicals.
Rules for anarchists, which you tell me it point that the first anarchist was Satan.
Yes, well, that's what Saul Alinsky, the author,
Saul
says,
Alinsky, yes. But very interesting. If you believe in Satan, that must there be a God also. So you cannot be Satanist and atheist. You can be anti-theist, but if you believe in Satan, of course there is a God. So you are theist, of course.
Absolutely, that's a great point, and I need to point out, Janko, that I have friends on the left, and some of them I can talk about these issues with, and some of them we just don't talk about it.
Yes.
We talk about other things. So, and I love them as individuals created in the image of God and with human dignity, and I want them to be able to discover truth, and
yes,
and
of
that's
course.
why I pray for them.
Same here, and and there is a reason why they are like that, because we all have freedom of choice to choose God and to reject Him. So I think that me as a man of God, I must accept everybody. I must not hate anybody. So that's my rule. That's my rules in life. It's difficult because they attack your family, they swearing you, they threaten the life of your children. It's very difficult fight. I must tell you, I'm as a public person here in Macedonia. My children, my wife, and myself are on the target, and it's very difficult to press the hate, to react like they do.
Excellent point. We love them as individuals, but we completely disagree with and we fight against their behavior and their actions. Two different things.
How was the reaction of the people? We saw the reaction of the liberals. They crying, they protest. How the protest spreading? Are they widening now or they're calming? How is now the situation?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't know if they're widening, but they continue. Let's put it that way, and that's unfortunate. And Donald Trump came out and told his supporters, who were gloating and still using unfortunate racist remarks because some of his supporters do. And Donald Trump said, stop it. Don't do this. I have yet to see Hillary Clinton come out and say the same thing.
After the election, she locked herself in a hotel room. That's the last news I heard. After the election, she didn't show herself in public.
Not until the next day when she gave her formal concession speech. And let's be honest, her concession speech was very gracious. It was very good. And the President Obama's statement the next day was very gracious and very good. And he said, we want Donald Trump to succeed because if Donald Trump succeeds, the country succeeds. So
that's very true.
And that's the proper way. That's the proper way for when you win an election for the opposition to behave. Macedonia.
Yes. It's something utopia here to congratulate to the opponent if he wins something. No congratulations, no, I hate you because of your heat. Bring me some heat. I don't want cold Arizona, hot Arizona, 30 degrees. Never mind. I'm very sorry. I'm very sensitive about heat. So, Soros is a big issue now. Soros, what do you think? What will be the next move of the Soros? If anybody has complained more about Soros than we in Macedonia, it's Donald Trump. He also complained. There was some basic fact that they have some business relation in 2009, but this election definitely separate them as mortal enemies to Donald Trump. So what do you think that George Soros will do? Tonight he's in Mandarin Hotel with the richest liberals for 3 days to make a strategy. Do you expect something radical to come out from there? Maybe even trying to start a civil war like in Macedonia, or public unrest on something like occupied Wall Street, occupied, I don't know. You saw how they will do on the streets in Macedonia, so it's not out of mind to see this picture in United States. What do you think?
Yeah, good point. Soros is not going to try and create a civil war here or anything like that. That would not be like him or the people that he's with at the hotel. But they are going to try and create a strategy to take over the Democrat Party. That's for sure. And I'll be honest, I hope they do, because if they do, they will further fragment the Democrat Party more so than it is already. The Democrat Party now has got to go through this period of soul searching and figure out what went wrong and why it went wrong, and then figure out what to do right. And we do need a healthy opposition here. But there was a time not so long ago in America when you had the Democrat Party that, we called them the Reagan Democrats. They were
What do you mean by Reagan Democrats?
Well, they were Democrats, but they voted for Ronald Reagan. They supported Ronald Reagan in 1980 and 1984 because they believed in Reagan's core message of tradition and hope and all of the things that Reagan championed. Not everything, but because they were Democrats. But what's happened over the past, since that time is that you've had these radical elements invade the Democrat Party and have tried to create these real small wedge issues, like the whole transgender issue right now. I mean, it's a very small percentage of the American people who identify as transgender, and yet it occupies the news almost daily, and it occupies the courts now, and it's this incredible wedge issue, and it doesn't even apply to 99.999% of the American people. So the Democrats have done this to themselves. They've created their own hell, if I may say so.
Bubble.
And they need, the traditional Democrats, those that, align more to the center, need to take over the Democrat Party if they want to succeed in the next elections.
So what you basically tell me, they didn't touch in the real problems of the real people, of the majority.
True.
What is the real problem of the common American?
Janko, it's always the pocketbook. It begins with economic issues. And that's, people around the world, and at least in the West, and certainly I know in Macedonia as well, vote on economic issues. If you look at the polling there done by IRI and others, people are worried about, putting food on their table and feeding their families, and that's the same here. And it was kind of funny during the election to watch President Obama talk about all the great things he's done in 8 years, and then to see, Bernie Sanders and Bill Clinton and others talking about how horrible it's been for the past 8 years. They obviously didn't get the same memo, but it is economic issues.
So that's the main point of the losing the target, losing the point. I have here in Macedonia, I have the same opinion that opposition main things are quite away from the main point of the people, making new jobs, making new money, and the point of the bilingual or something like that, something like this, and more about gay rights, animal rights, everybody rights. So climate change. So okay, we don't ignore this, but the main problem is first of all our education, food, money, job. So how is possible? They're not stupid people. How the liberals lose their point? Why they so focused on these marginals? I'm not hater. I don't say that transgender and gay people and these issues be taken away. Contrary, they will have to be politically and to be in the program of the society, but in the form, in the place how they deserve. And the main issue must be family, working people, and making more jobs. That's the main point. How did they lose their focus? How these small things became wide world? There was a memo a couple of years ago from the, what was the name of the second, after Obama, vice president?
Joe Biden?
Yes, Joe Biden. There was some memo came to me from the Facebook, which he told to the diplomats, forget everything, forget every differences and cultural benefits of every country. First rule, gay rights. That is the, maybe it's fake, but I feel it like this, that, United States Embassy never wave a flag of Macedonian freedom on the, but there was a flag of the gay rights waving here. So I asked myself, okay, we are friends. You're the best friend. You're best investor. So where are we people? How 2% of the people get some spectacular attention? We don't kill them. I mean, gay people, we don't put them in the lock. They're working. Everybody is equal. So what's the big point? How did they lose their focus? And I don't know, this is one of the many things how they misjudge everything and lose their elections.
Yeah, I think the simplest way to put it, Janko, is that the leadership of the Democrat Party allowed themselves to be taken over by special interests.
What does that mean?
Well, these special interest wedge issues, whether it's the LGBT issue or the transgender issue or animal rights or climate change or any of these are very small issues that the leaders of those movements took over the Democrat Party.
How is that possible? Through the influence of the rich people, or who is the biggest interest to push this agenda?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's certainly Hollywood as well, academia, think tanks. And to a large degree, it's people like George Soros with a lot of money who feel very strongly about these issues that are driving the agenda for the Democrat Party, which is, for them it's unfortunate because they're going to continue to lose. I mean, look, we just won the presidency, the House, the Senate, we have 31 governorships out of 50. We control 25 states with the governor and the state houses, the House and the Senate at the state level. The Democrats have just been wiped out, and President Obama's legacy now is in jeopardy because of this, because they focused on those issues instead of focusing on the issues that matter to people: the pocketbook, the family, education at the local level, things of this nature. So, and I see the same thing happening in Macedonia with our friends on the left there, is that they're talking about these issues. They're talking about things like income redistribution. That just does not work with a traditionally conservative society. But we'll see on December 11th.
Yes, of course. And how is the among the Republicans and those neutrals? How is the feeling with the people of the both sides who are not so into the people that didn't cry, or like Kim Il-sung or something like that, disappointing. Here was a great relief and very big positive energy we feel among the people after the election of Donald Trump. How was the reaction over there?
You mean among independent voters?
Among
non-party affiliated?
And also among the Republicans, because not so long ago, many distinguished Republicans
they
revoked their support for Trump.
Sure, no, that's true. Yeah, there was a group called, quote unquote, Never Trump. And it wasn't that they were for Hillary, it's just that they felt that Trump was such a flawed individual that they couldn't support him. And I get that. That's fine. I understand that. But the Never Trumpers now are, look, he is their president, just as he is the president of the people who are rioting, or will be the president. And so, people are coming home. And we all should want to see a successful President Trump administration. And so, yeah, you did have some on the right, on the Republican Party, that didn't support him. You had some also Republicans that voted for Hillary Clinton, and that I'll never understand. But now going forward, we have President Trump, or we'll have President Trump, and now is the time to see what we can do to make him successful, because if President Trump is successful, the country is successful.
So now on the screen is how to pronounce Reince Priebus. I was not sure, so I go to page how to pronounce. Reince Priebus is a very interesting person now. He's one of the closest to Donald Trump. Also, it's possible to be in the new government. And he is a Greek. He said that he is a proud Greek. So do you think that this will make more difficult about Macedonia, because we were very favor of Donald Trump, because we believe that the pressure to change the name will be lower at a reasonable level.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Priebus, of course, is the chairman of the Republican National Party and will be the new chief of staff to Donald Trump. Now, during the primaries, and even during the general election, Priebus and Trump had their issues going back and forth and whatnot. But I think that, even though I saw those comments from Priebus, that, that he's proud to be a Greek and whatnot, good for him, he should be.
Of course.
But he's going to be chief of staff, which is an operational issue. It's not necessarily a policy issue. And President Trump will have lots of policy advisors, both in the White House and in the State Department, Defense Department, the other departments, as well as the National Security Council and others. Those people are going to be key in helping Donald Trump as president to understand the issues facing Macedonia and the issues facing the Balkans and, of course, the world. So I'm not too worried, and I don't think it would make a bad policy precedent for the chief of staff of the new president to recommend going back on what a former Republican president did, 12 years ago. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not out of the realm of the impossible, but what this means is that all of us who love Macedonia have to reach out to all the new members of the Trump administration, new members of Senate, new members of the House, and others, and make sure that they understand this issue. It's funny, today, President Obama was in Greece and met with, talk about a name I can't pronounce, the Greek president.
Yes, of course.
And the Greek president, of course, said, one of his issues that he brought up with President Obama was the name issue, and said that the United States should rethink its position on this issue. And of course, President Obama, to his credit, didn't even acknowledge that the Greek president had said that, because it's really a non-issue for President Obama. So we'll see. That's the short answers. We'll see, but we have to work hard in order to make sure that everybody in the Trump administration understands, to the extent possible, understands our position with Macedonia.
Yes, and we hope so that Republicans will also give support to Macedonia like in the past. And we know that Republican Party generally much more support Macedonia as a state, as a culture, and also as and the party of Vamaro Dopamene, which is also the right wing. So we hope so that we will treat it much more fairly in the future.
Yeah,
do you think this is possible, or maybe the large groups who are influenced in the politics will take over again, the Greek lobby groups and etc.?
The Greek lobby groups are always going to be pushing, on this issue and others. But to be honest, the Greeks have much bigger issues than this. They've got, they're financially bankrupt, and they're not getting out of that hole that they've gotten themselves into. They're talking about debt relief and things of this nature. So they've got much bigger issues that they should be focusing on. But they'll continue to push on this issue, and so we have to continue to push back and educate people. I mean, that's why we made our film, A Name is a Name, in 2009, to educate people about the name issue. And we'll continue to do that.
Excellent. That was a fantastic film. What do you expect that the U.S. diplomacy will do now that Trump is president? Some of the diplomats were openly supportive of the left. What do they do now? Will be some changes in that direction?
Certainly there are going to be changes. To be honest with you, we're not exactly sure what they're going to be. Let's be honest. Trump was kind of all over the board during the elections, both in the primaries and the general, on many issues, and trying to understand what his foreign policy is going to be is not the easiest thing in the world. We do know that from a military standpoint, he wants to be less interventionist, and that's good. I think the United States has been a bit too aggressive in the past 16 years.
Thank you very much.
Under President Bush and under President Obama, I'm on record as having disagreed with going to war against Iraq in 2003, and look where that got us. I am by no means an isolationist. We have to be involved in the world. And certainly we have to live up to our treaty obligations, and we're a member of NATO, and we're the leader of NATO. And Macedonia's government and all previous Macedonian governments are on record as saying that Macedonia should join NATO, and so we want to see that happen. But in terms of the broad foreign policy issue, again, we'll see. I think obviously he struck a more conciliatory tone towards President Putin and Russia. One thing I can fault Republicans with over the past 25 years, not just Republicans, but others who are foreign policy hawks, is having looked at Russia the Soviet Union and then Russia in 1991 going forward, and gloating and having an arrogant attitude about that. And that was the wrong attitude to have at that time. So there are certainly things that we can do to try and, for lack of a better word, reset our relations with Russia. But we have to defend our allies, and we have to defend our, those that we have treaty obligations with.
Many Americans are pretty ignorant what's happening in the world and how the American politics are in the world. You are very good, you're very intelligent, you know what's happening, and those things that America did in the past which was very aggressive, the Arabian Spring, I mean Libya, Egypt, Syria, etc. So they didn't bring the results what they're hoping for. There is no democracy, there is anarchy, there is a lot of immigrants going into Europe. Europe have a big issue and the problem, so which this foreign policy created on a direct or indirect way. So do you think that those 200 generals that give support to Donald Trump will have such a reasonable thinking that, as you, in which you say, we want to be involved in the world, but not in such an aggressive way? Is there a possibility to America, I don't know, I don't want to say surrender, push back or something else, and not to be humiliated after everything, but dignifying to release the pressure in the world? Talking to President Putin, it's okay, because it's we will not going to, because a couple of months ago we were on the brink of war. It was a question of time when there will be a conflict between direct airplanes of Russian and United States, and it will be escalating. My president, in an informal talk after America tour, came to me, everybody, and said to me in a private conversation, this is not official, Mr. Ivanov told me, everybody talking about war, world war. So it was crazy, crazy situation, and the tense for Clinton to be elected, it was not the Clinton, is she okay, or Trump is okay. It was the policy until that moment she represent. We felt very dangerous for us as Macedonian and for the world. So there is a possibility for such a radical change in American policy somehow. What do you think about this?
Right, great point. There are two things. Number one, with Hillary Clinton, you knew what you would get when it comes to foreign policy. We already knew her record. She had a very extensive record. With Trump, you don't know what you're going to get that much, based on what he said and what he did. We're beginning to see now, based on who he's considering for appointments. You know, he's mentioned Jeff Sessions, Senator of Alabama for defense, perhaps, Rudy Giuliani, John Bolton, Newt Gingrich for Secretary of State. Of those three, I'd take Giuliani over the other two. So we'll begin to see in the coming days and weeks and months ahead, you know, who he chooses for these very important positions, who will then advise him, obviously, on foreign policy. So, but going back to Hillary Clinton, and I think a lot of our friends in the diplomatic community at the embassy in Skopje, USAID and others, of course they supported her, but the State Department tends to turn out people who are from a center-left position politically for a variety of reasons, which I'm not going to go into now. But, you know, going back, we remember what Hillary said about Libya and Muammar Gaddafi. She said, we came, we saw, he died. And then she laughed. And that's not good, that's not the right attitude. And Gaddafi gave up some of his weapons programs to be so that he could become a part of the family of nations and be reintegrated. And he was moving towards that, and then, you know, we supported this action and killed him, and now Libya is a failed state, like so many others, unfortunately. We turned our backs on our friend Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, and then we had the Muslim Brotherhood, who may very well be designated as a terrorist organization under President Trump. And then, of course, now we have Al-Sisi as the president, who is providing a little more stability. But the foreign policy of the past 16 years has produced a lot of chaos in the world, and it's done a lot of good things as well, and we could point to those and talk about those as well. But generally, it's produced a lot of instability, and I think, you know, the other part is that Trump's he campaigned on basically America first. He said, we need to take care of the American people first. And that resonated with the average American, is that, yeah, we need to be taking care of us first, and our roads, our infrastructure, our economy, our schools, all of these things. And that's what President Trump promised to do. Not by disengaging with the world. We can't disengage. but by, going back a little bit while still honoring our treaties and obligations and supporting our allies. And I'm hoping that's what he's going to do as president.
I hope so, because he's a manager, he is a businessman, that businessman thinking, not the politician, will prevail in his presidency, and businessmen need market, big market, big profit, and for big market and big profit, the main thing is political stability and peace. It's very, very simple. So I hope so. That is the main reason why Macedonians, Serbian, Balkans, in Europe, many people are happy of Donald Trump. So it will be solving the main issue. And the main issue is the economics, the job, the pay.
It's funny, and you bring up a good point. Brexit, of course. Everybody before the British vote in June said, they vote Brexit, their economy is going to collapse. And what happened? The opposite. Everybody before this, well, not everybody before, but as Tuesday night was unfolding and it became apparent that Donald Trump was going to win, everybody said the stock market is going to collapse the next day. And this week, the stock market's gone up.
Not going up, it exploded. It's I think, decade high. So Trump elected as a president, stocks going up, the thinking. So you must analyze what the businessman thinking. So this is a businessman. He will give more opportunity. So we have a new hope for a big business. So that's the main point. You cannot do business parking two carriers in some country and say democracy, open market, and you see fly by. No, sir. You know, Chinese did a very good thing. They came to our country. I believe so. They're doing also in the other country, and say they came with a. With the paper, with the suitcases. There is no place, no bombers, no threats, no protest on the street. They say 50-50, let's be partners. And they conquer half of the world in that way. I watch CNN. Is it good for Africa, Chinese to go into Africa? Is it good this for Africa? And I searching, Chinese go to Ethiopia and give us mines, and we will share the profit 50-50. So this is the best deal. So why not America, which is the number one in innovation, in program, in everything, to work that way? Why with using force? Why with bullying? It was the same thing why they, I think that mindset, I am too powerful, I am too arrogant, and everything goes down. I don't know how radical the changes will be, but the world expects changes.
That's true, absolutely. And that's what the American people, if you look at the surveys, the post-election surveys, people voted for change. They voted for change in 2008 because they thought President Obama would bring change, and he certainly did, but it turned out to be the change that they didn't want. So they voted again for change. And we'll see what President Trump can bring. If he brings the right kind of change, if he brings prosperity and jobs and all of these things back home, then he'll be reelected if he chooses to run again. We'll see.
About NATO, Donald Trump speak with Russian president, and the Rasmussen have a very nervous, very threatening public state that Trump must confront with Russia and something like that. So Trump is not much interested in NATO. That is very obvious. He says he will begin new cooperation with Russia. And do you expect changes in the balance of power in that term, that Cold War is fading away?
Yeah, not right away. We'll have to see. President-elect Trump has said that, as President Obama and others have said, that the NATO partners need to pay their fair share, which is 2% of GDP. 2% of their military budget, sorry.
Okay.
And there's only a handful of countries that do that. The United States, I think the United Kingdom, Estonia, Greece, and one or two others. So that's first, is that they need to contribute what they have obliged themselves to contribute to NATO. I think he's going to learn very quickly more about NATO and the intricacies. And, you and I are mere mortals. We're not privy to all of that information about what goes on in NATO and the issues with Russia, et cetera. But I think it's important to point out that NATO and Russia have cooperated through the years, ever since the demise of the Soviet Union, or shortly thereafter. And there's no reason why NATO and Russia can't cooperate on issues, and we do. One thing about NATO is that we need to bring NATO back to its original intent, and that's a defensive organization, not an offensive organization. And the term that NATO uses is out of area to do operations around the world, and we need to, bring it back to the original intent, which is defense, and then once we get that right, I think things will be a little more easier in the Russian-NATO relationship.
So you think that the things are not past the point of no return in terms of aggression?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, I will give you a couple of more minutes to refresh yourself those hellish 30 degrees, and I will enjoy my zero here, and I will call you in a couple of minutes.
Very good. Thank you, Janko.
Одиме со вториот блок реклами, веднаш потоа се враќаме назад во програма.
И оваа година заедно со вас. Гледајте ја петата сезона на семејниот магазин Моето дете. За сите сегашни и идни родители, едукативни прилози и стручни совети, одблиску со познатите нивните семејства, културни, спортски и забавни активности за правилен раст и развој на децата од сите возрасти. Премиерно секоја сабота во 20 часот на Сител 3.
Дружењата со пријателите ми станаа мачни. Болките во зглобовите станаа неподносливи. Не е лесно, но за проблемите со зглобовите има решение. Сопрете ја болката пред таа да ве сопре вас. Вистинско решение. Флексифорс Плюс. Правилен избор. Хербал Плюс. Телефон 3062 770. Ново Карваксил, патентирана П73 формула, единствено масло од диво оригано во капсули, ефикасен за целото семејство, против инфекции, без инекции.
Оваа среда, најниската цена во градот, само за вас. Лимони 1 килограм за само 33 денари, единствено во Тинекс.
Да, ние го подготвуваме Будвајзер Будвар, користејќи го истиот оригинален рецепт веќе 120 години. А сепак, секој ден, секој процес, секое шише, секое правило го гледаме со нов ентузијазам. Можеби старите традиции треба да се почитуваат на овој начин. Будвајзер Будвар, оригинално чешко.
Зголемена простата. Проблеми со мокрење. Проблеми со потенција. Полтип, екстракт од полен, помага при отежнато мокрење, непотполно празнење, испрекинатост, чувство за итност, колебање, ја подобрува потенцијата. Хербал Плюс.
Она за што сте сонувале. Она за кое сте мечтаеле. Она на кое со возбуда и радост ке се сеќавате. Одберете го местото каде вие и вашите роднини и пријатели ќе уживате во заедничкиот свечен миг. Одберете го хотелот Кратис. Совршено место за вашата совршена венчавка. Испланирајте ја вашата свеченост во древниот град. Одберете го градот на кулите и мостовите и хотелот Кратис. Препуштете се на веселбата и свеченоста, онака како што само вие знаете и онака како што од секогаш сте посакувале. Елеганција, врвна услуга и долгогодишно искуство во организацијата на свадбените свечености. Волшебно добре дојде за волшебни заеднички мигови. Хотел Кратис. Совршено место за вашата совршена венчавка.
Пак таа досадна уринарна инфекција. Урифар содржи природни состојки кои за 30 минути го ублажуваат воспалението. Урифар – брзо и ефикасно решение за уринарните инфекции. Хербал Плюс. Ново Остеостронг, органски калциум и магнезиум со витамини К2 и Д3. Потикнува од крајбрежјата на Јужна Америка од црвени алги кои се берат рачно, се сушат и се мелат во прав, кој е извор на единствен органски калциум. Остеостронг алгекал обезбедува правилна работа на внатрешните органи, бидејќи влијае на преку 100 витални функции во организмот. Најновите студии докажаа дека Остеостронг алгекал ја јакне структурата и ја зголемува густината на коските. Остеостронг – потпора на вашата виталност. Хербал Плюс. Телефон 02 3062 770. Кандилекс придонесува за баланс на микроби во телото и добро варење, причини за настанување на кандида, често и подолго конзумирање на антибиотици, небалансирана исхрана, често изложување на стрес и слаб имунитет, конзумирање контрацептивни таблети. Симптоми на прекумерно развиена кандида, надуеност и проблеми со варење, зголемена потреба за сладка и кисела храна и алкохол, главоболка, замор, несоница. Кандилекс – природен препарат во борба против кандида. Вистинско решение, правилен избор. Хербал Плюс.
Фудбалерите на Вардар цврсто ја држат лидерската позиција на табелата во домашното првенство. Дуелот со Македонија Ѓорѓе Петров е убава шанса за нови бодови на патот кон титулата. Лавовите нема што да загубат и може да се надигруваат со шампионот и да ги потврдат своите добри игри во последните неколку кола. Вардар Македонија Ѓорѓе Петров директно на Сител тројка среда 13 часот. Нови бодови за црвено-црните или изненадување на сезоната. Гледајте ја скопската пресметка среда Сител тројка 13 часот.
Океј, повторно се враќаме назад да го довршиме разговорот со господинот Мико. Џејсон, we are back on the air again. So, let me ask you something else. You closely watch political situation in Macedonia for many years. I hope so that you are still informed. Last show you tell me a lot of things that you were very informed about political situation in Macedonia. So I want you to make a compares Macedonia and United States, some similarities in some terms about emails of Hillary Clinton, FBI statement. Because of these things, we have a special prosecutor in Macedonia, which was elected by the most of the ambassadors, mostly of the United States Embassy, which was very supportive for special prosecutor because of the right, what was right to find what was wrong, etc. So do you think that same thing, because it's very similar in the United States about those emails, who had read those emails and etc. There will be a special prosecutor about Hillary Clinton and some other issues which were come at the surface every day about wrongdoing by the Obama administration?
Yeah, great question. And I guess the short answer is we will see. There's two things here. Number one, there's an ongoing FBI investigation into the emails. And
ongoing?
They're looking at,
because
ongoing.
Last news was that there will be no investigation.
I understand it that they're going to continue to look at especially the emails that they found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, because a lot of those were from Secretary Clinton or Huma Abedin or others, her chief, some of her chief allies and others. So I do believe that there is still an ongoing investigation within the FBI. On the issue of a special prosecutor and what happens then, nothing will happen right now because there is no President Trump. There's President-elect Trump. So the first thing is he has to get into office, be inaugurated, I should say. He has hinted in some of his most recent statements that he won't rule it out and he won't rule it in. So he's leaving it open. Now, the third, there's a third issue, of course, which has been talked about a lot here, and that is, will President Obama pardon Hillary Clinton for any crimes committed or alleged crimes, etc., before he leaves office? I don't know. I don't think he will, but he has pardoned or commuted the sentences of more people during his 8 years than the past 11 presidents combined.
Really?
So he does. Yeah, he does
really?
that a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
This is a wow, unbelievable. Yeah. Pardon criminals.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
so, and that's certainly the president. Any president, Ivanov or President Obama or whoever, has the right to issue pardons or commutations.
Constitutional right to pardon.
Right, or just to commute the sentence, to make the sentence less, of course.
Yes, yes.
I think those are the three things that are in play right now. Mm-hmm. What does President Obama do? What does the FBI do? What does President Trump do once he becomes President Trump? But you're right, there are a lot of similarities.
Do you think that there will be a smooth transition? Do you think that 100 days will come peacefully? Do you think that they will try to do something stupid or bad to Donald Trump or to sabotage his election? Because I read something like this analysis, how to sabotage, how not to be inaugurated as a president and something like that. But I know that the United States Constitution is very strict, it's very rigid, and the state doesn't play with these things. So, your opinion about this? Yeah,
good question. It's less than 70 days now, I think. That's January 20. So if you do the math, it's about 70 days out.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm very, and I have to say, I am extremely pleased that Mike Pence is our vice president-elect, Governor Pence from Indiana, who is truly a decent and good man, strong Christian, great conservative, and as Mike Pence describes it, he says, I'm a Christian, then I'm a conservative, and then I'm a Republican in that order. And he's leading the transition team. And so I have the utmost respect for Vice President-elect Pence and what he's going to do with his team. So, and I'm going to trust President Obama at his word to say that we're going to do everything we can to make this a very smooth transition. And I think he will do that. I think the issue becomes the media and the think tanks and the George Soroses of this world and others, and what are they going to do in these next 70 days? And we see, I look at the media and I read the news every day, many different news sources about what's going on. And, typically there's quote unquote a honeymoon for the incoming president, when the media kind of backs off and everybody says, okay, let's give the guy a chance. We don't see that happening right now, even though we saw, a lot of people, even some writers from the New York Times, traditionally left and others, who said, we got it wrong, we need to be more humble. And as individual writers, yes, but as the institutions, these media institutions are going full on against President-elect Trump and his some of his staff picks and those that have come up. So I don't trust the mainstream media here in America, and I certainly don't trust a lot of the NGOs and the George Soroses and the organizations that he funds out here. So we'll see what they try and do. I'm sure they're going to try and do something.
They are very loud. Even in the minority, they are very loud. They are very persistent. They are very aggressive on the street, and they make you feel that they are many, that very strong, that they will make changes. Couple of years we watched them, and we defeat the Soros for many, many years, almost 10 years. Soros cannot win in Macedonia, so it will be shame for Americans if they lose from Soros.
That's not going to happen. No, that's not going to happen. The silent majority, as you said earlier, are the ones that have spoken and will continue to speak now that they found their voice again.
So what do you think that will be the main change? What do the people expect that will be? You said people expect change. What do you think what the Trump will do? What is the magic thing? We saw how Gruevski did it in Macedonia, walking around the world, making easier for the job opening, calling everybody to invest in Macedonia, changing the rules and the regulation in bureaucracy to make it easier. And for 10 years, it gives a result, but it takes 10 years. It's very long term. For American, this is too much. The changes expect in a couple of years. So what do you think? Is there on the horizon something like big deal or something like this, like that historically, what we see in United States in the past?
Yeah, I'm not an economist.
Yes,
I'm
of
not
course.
a financial expert, but looking at President-elect Trump's plan for his first 100 days in office, looking at some of the economic policies he had put forward, as well as the foreign policies and whatnot, I think that those, once implemented, can allow the engine of the economy to grow again. And so, but again, he has to be, he has to be president first, and we haven't got to that point yet. But I think that's what, when we talk about change, I think that's what the American people expect first, and that is to be able to, get a good and decent job according to their own abilities, and provide food for their families, and send their kids to school, and maybe go on vacation once a year. That's basically what most of Americans want.
You're pretty good analytic about Southeastern Europe, especially Macedonia. So how long will it take for somebody to become a diplomat in the United States?
To become a career diplomat through the State Department?
Let's say that, in that way.
Well, that's a lifetime.
Lifetime. But if you wanted to, like Ivana Trump, who wanted to be a ambassador in Czechoslovakia, in Czech Republic, is it possible to be elected as an ambassador, something like that?
Well, actually, good point. Under our system, and I don't know the exact numbers, the divisions, but there's a certain number of ambassadorships that go to party people who have raised money and supported the party, etc. And there's a certain number of ambassadorships that go to career foreign officers.
Of course.
So, and I don't know if that's 1/3, 2/3, or what the numbers are, but some of the real plum positions. So the Court of St. James in London, the ambassador to the United Kingdom, of course, is a political appointment. And others like that. Typically, Macedonia gets a career diplomat, and all of the ambassadors who have served in Macedonia have been career diplomats. So we'll see. We'll see. Are you asking who's going to be next there?
No, I'm proposing who is going to be next. So, what do you need from us to make you ambassador of United States here in Macedonia? You love Macedonia, you love Macedonian history, the state, the culture, you are very good as a man, you know us for very long, so it will be great benefit for United States and for Macedonia. So, do you need to make a petition, to write to Donald Trump, to go to Slovenia to find the parents of Melanie, to lobby through her? So, anything, and please reconsider your career now. This is a good chance for you. It will be very, very pleased. The Macedonian people will be very pleased if you have you as an ambassador of United States here in Macedonia.
Well, thank you, Janko. I'm flattered. I appreciate that. Let me give that some thought. I often think I can be more helpful to Macedonia, being behind the scenes and doing a variety of different things than I ever could in a position like that. I did consider when I was.
No, sorry. I will take a poll on Facebook, so I will see. And those notes I will send to the Trump campaign team, and so I will try everything it's possible. Because there will be changes. Mr. Bailey did what he did. There will be changes in the foreign policy, of course. He's a professional diplomat, of course. Maybe he will stay with other things to do from the ambassadorships.
I'm not sure how old he is or what his next step is. I think he will probably get replaced in the summer. That'll be 3 years.
Yes. So you have a time to make those. I don't know how they call test schools programs to pass and to came to Macedonia. So.
If you're a political appointment, you don't have to do that. So you're just, you just become an ambassador. That's the way it works. So
I know every autumn we'll make a special event in United States Embassy, collectively making Ivar, politicals, ambassador, you ambassador, journalist, and we will bake. Paprika, we will peel it, we will, and it will.
I've made Ivar before, I love it.
Yes, and we will give it for the poor people. It will be all over CNN.
Oh, good. Macedonia already is on CNN, that's good. And actually, I don't know if you saw it, the New York Times had a fantastic article today on Macedonia.
So how about those things that some papers give, sorry, where is, here it is. New York Times, the New York Times, gems hidden in plain sites in Macedonia. Fantastic.
Great article. Yeah, about the travel and the tourism potential. And I really have to say here that the government of former Prime Minister Ilkovski had foresight when it went to Wizz Air and has gone to some of these other carriers and said, we're going to do what we can to bring you here so that you can bring more people here. And that has paid off in spades. Yes, there are subsidies, but 1.6 million people will fly into Skopje this year. That's record-breaking. And all of those people are there, whether they like Skopje 24 or don't like it, doesn't matter. They're coming. And they're taking pictures of Skopje 2014. And then they're going throughout the rest of the country. And that's good news for Macedonia.
Yes. And thank you very much for your contribution in my show and for your analysis. It was priceless for me and for Macedonian people. Among the many analyses to hear something from a real American who is a very and a real good friend of Macedonia. Thank you very much for that.
Janko, thank you very much. Good night.
I'll make you ambassador, don't worry. Драги мои почитувани гледачи, тоа беше се за вечерва. Благодарам за вашето внимание. Лека ноќ и пријатно.